Hi, I'm Old Sneelock. Welcome to another episode of Old Sneelock's Workshop. I don't want my abrasive wheel running down into the wood. All that does is plug up the abrasive wheel. I'm going to hang this part off the end of this piece of wood so that I can use the Dremel tool and an abrasive wheel to finish cutting the slot. I keep saying Dremel tool. Really what I'm going to be using is a Craftsman rotary tool. Now it's the same thing as a Dremel. I think it's actually made by Dremel because if you look at the two, there's hardly a bit of difference between the moldings that they use to make the bodies and the pieces fit back and forth. So I think it's pretty much something that Dremel makes for Craftsman. Pretty standard practice for craftsmen to just buy somebody else's time rather than doing it themselves, which makes good sense. They're a supplier of hardware. They're not a manufacturing company. I want to have that tool firmly anchored in there, and I want to have the stick out just as close as I can get it. I still want to leave that 1/8 inch so that I can push the mandrel back inside. Now a Dremel tool is nowhere near as noisy as the big grinder, so I don't need to have the hearing protection when I'm grinding. There is one thing about these wheels: they shatter. And when they shatter, they're going at a really high rate of speed, so the pieces fly off. And I'm wearing safety glasses. It's a thing that I have to do. I have to wear glasses, so I just have safety glasses. But this wheel can go right into your face, and I'm not the most good-looking guy in the world, but I don't like bleeding any better than the next guy. And one more scar is not going to improve my look. So I'm going to wear a face shield. Now I expect to break at least one of these wheels. It's just the nature of the beast. Now the best way that I can make sure that this wheel doesn't break is to have it go straight through the steel, as close to a straight line as I possibly can. That means I need to hold it securely so that it just travels through the steel in a straight line. Now I'm going to cut away the web between the two holes, and then I'll use a grinding wheel to dress it up and make it true. And I'm going to take this small grinding wheel and dress that web down so that I end up with smooth sides on it. The way that the spoke shave blade is mounted in there, having that kind of a slot in the center won't really bother anything, but I'd like to make it straight just so that I have it the way I think it should be. Put my face shield back on. I'm just deburring the edges. Pretty good match on the slot. Now I need to go over and grind down the sides. Now that I have the slot in there, I left a little bit of extra material on there so that I could square this up. This spoke shave blade is a little bit undersized. I think it's so that you can square it up. I think I'm going to leave this one a little tight. If I do this right, I really shouldn't have to do a whole lot of squaring. This coarse wheel is a little freer cutting, and it won't heat up the blade as much. So I'm still going to hold this in my fingers so that I can tell if it's warming up. But this wheel should let it cut a lot longer before I have to dip it in the water. Now we do the face shield and earmuffs again. And you guys are just going to have to be careful. I think that's a pretty good match. I've thought about this next step quite a bit. This blade that came with the spoke shave was ground close to the shape of the spoke shave. But it's actually just a little bit too big. It's too large a radius. So when I'm using it, the center cuts heavier than the outside edges, which I suppose you could see that as an advantage if you wanted to be able to vary the cut depending on the particular part you were holding in your hand. But I'd like to have it be an exact match so that when I shave on this side or the center, it's always going to be cutting the same thickness. So rather than using this as the template to grind it to, I'm going to mount the blade in the spoke shave with it extended just far enough to get a good grip on it. Then I want to mark the blade by scribing against the casting. Now when I grind to this line with a bevel on this side, I'll end up with a spoke shave blade, if I've done this right, that fits perfectly to the casting and works just the way I want it to. about 3 degrees off. I'm going to leave it in the spoke shave so that I have a reference point. All I have to do is loosen the screw up and drop it back down. I'm going to go to a larger diameter wheel because it's going to cut better. Also, it won't be as likely to cause ripples. The larger radius gives me better control over the diameter of the cut that I'm making. And when I tighten down the screw on the stone, I would just want to snug it up. Go too tight and I'll shatter the stone. Stones are really good, but they are fragile. You have to be careful what you're doing. Even with just the grind on the blade, it's cutting. Got the back angle correct, but I need to dress the blade down on the stones. But I'm going to save that for another video because I need to clean up this mess before I get another mess started. So that's how I made a replacement blade for the spoke shave. Cut a chunk out of an old saw blade. Drilled some holes in it, shaped the edges, smoothed it up a bit. Now I'm going to do the final polishing and make it look nice. Give it a good sharp edge. Not bad for a rip crosscut combination saw. 6,000 RPM max, made in USA. Good old American steel. Okay, I'm going to clean up and we'll get ready for the next project. It's quite a bit of work for a little bitty thing like this. That's probably why they charge you an arm and leg for it. But I had a lot of fun doing it. Hope you did too. If you have any suggestions for a new video, questions about today's video, or any of the other videos on the channel, just drop a note in the comments. You know I read them all. Thanks for watching.